coming. It is my very great honor to welcome you to this edition of the Avenue of Heroes Hometown Banner Program. So welcome so much. My name is Tina Friend. I'm the city manager. And I have to say this is my very favorite thing that the city does, bringing everyone together to honor those who have served. Very proud in our military that actually served or worked here in Coronado or have a connection to Coronado. So our program is going to be absolutely exceptional, and we're so glad you're joining us here today. And I have to say too, one of the reasons this program is so resonant is that I have personal connections with the military myself. So I was so delighted when I joined the city of Coronado 2 years ago to find the strong military connections and how the city's interwoven, because I myself am an Army brat. My father is a retired sergeant major in the U.S. Army and Special Forces, and my grandfather also is in the U.S. Marine Corps. And he was in the 1st Amtrak Battalion to beach on Iwo Jima. He served in Saipan and Tinian. So just remarkable stories similar to what you'll hear today. And I've always been so proud of his legacy and that I was able to grow up in that environment. So this ceremony has particular resonance to me, and I just adore it. So, but before we move on too, I want to recognize a few special guests we have. First, starting with members of our Coronado City Council. And they're down here, and I would ask if you can to wave and recognize. We have Councilmember Carrie Downey. Welcome. We have Councilmember John Duncan. Councilmember Casey Tanaka. Councilmember Mike Duncan. The lights are dim. I'm getting confused. My apologies. We also have some other special guests that we're honored to have here. We have our Naval Base Coronado Commanding Officer, Captain McKissick. And we also have the Naval Base Coronado Executive Officer, Captain Montero. Welcome. We have board members from the Coronado Historical Association, Emily Talbert, Caroline Murray, and Beth Fleming. Can you stand if you're ready, please? From the Silver Strand chapter of the Military Officers Association of America, President Chris Merwin. From the Coronado Council of the Navy League, President Joyce Murphy. And committee member, that's the Avenue of Heroes committee member and post commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 2422. Where is Lisa? Former city council members I'd like to recognize. Also here at front, we have former council member Marvin Hines. We just have former council member Bill Sankey. He is here with us today. And also Mike Lloyd Woody here on the thing. So again, to have this representation and this rich attendance is so meaningful, to honor you, to honor the families, and to keep this program going and thriving. So now, let's get the program started. So for those who are able, will you please rise for the parading of the colors and the singing of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare
did. And thank you so much to the Coronado High School and Navy Junior ROTC and to Deanna Holla for her beautiful rendition of She's never been joined by the audience before, so that was the first time. It was amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'd like to now share a little bit about this program with you for those this is your first time with the program. So since its inception in 2014, the Avenue of Heroes program has honored 246 hometown heroes. Today we will recognize 15 additional service members. So in 2011, the Avenue of Heroes program was inspired spontaneously with a movement of 2 Navy SEALs to their final resting place. People lined 4th Street to honor the fallen service members. And as the procession approached the Coronado Bridge, a lone Navy SEAL stood at attention saluting as he waited for the passage of his comrades. At that moment, it was clear that 3rd and 4th Streets were already an Avenue of Heroes. And from that impromptu beginning, the program we celebrate today was launched. In 2014, Coronado resident Tony McGowan tirelessly promoted a program to regularly recognize local military service members. That same year, the city designated State Route 282, thank you council members, also known as 3rd and 4th Streets from Orange Avenue to the Naval Air Station North Island as the Coronado Avenue of Heroes. McGowan's vision was brought to fruition by the adoption of the companion banner program that you will see as you're driving up 3rd and 4th Streets. And we are indebted to Ms. McGowan for her steadfast dedication to making this program become a reality. And two, we are so honored that our city council continues to support it, that the hometown banner community continues to work on this tirelessly so we can bring this program forward twice a year. It really is remarkable. And I also want to take a moment to recognize the sponsors and biography writers of today's honorees, because this starts with people nominating a hometown hero, and then people going forward and writing the biography and compiling the very rich array of photographs and stories that you'll hear about today. So it is a tremendous effort and so critical to bring the vibrancy to these profiles. So thank you to the honorees, the members, and the sponsors. Can we get an applause for this set of folks? Contributions really are valuable and keep this program sustaining and growing. I'm so delighted to see everyone joining us here. And then I also would like to recognize Avenue of Heroes Committee. I mentioned them a moment ago, but they are really the prop and pivot that keep this going. It's not possible without hours, dozens and dozens of hours every 6 months from this group of 100% volunteers who give their time to make this recognition come to life. So the committee is comprised of 2 members each from the 3rd and 4th Streets Neighborhood Association, the Coronado Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 2422, and the Coronado Historical Association. So as I've said, they have been absolutely instrumental. They're still here. They still have the passion they had ever since I've seen the program going. So I would like to recognize a few of the members who are here today. Can we please ask Kevin Corcoran to rise for recognition? Thank you, Kevin. And we have Lee Fulmer, who we introduced a little bit earlier. Thank you, Lee. To my left, we have Jim Jameson. And John Nolan. Darlene Parker, I know she's right there. And Daniel Stewart, all seniors. And also, I would like, it's my honor to give a very special recognition to Chuck Lucas. And Chuck is the past VFW post commander and the original member of this committee. Can we please recognize? It's so great to see you. We've missed you these past few presentations. Thank you for being here. And so now we're going to move into the part of the program that we're all here for, to hear these amazing biographies of the heroes that will be recognized today. So I would like to welcome our 2 presenters who will be reading all the biographies. And so first we have, as we just mentioned, Marine Colonel Jim Jameson, and he's representing the Coronado Historical Association. And with him is Jim is Daniel, a retired Navy captain and SEAL who also represents the Coronado Historical Association. So as the biographies are read and the honorees and families are recognized, we look forward to you coming up and taking some photos and receiving some gifts as well, I think from Mr. Fulmer. Okay, thank you so much. So now Jim and Dana will begin the formal presentation.
Good morning. Thank you, Tina, and welcome everybody. As Tina said, I'm Jim Jameson. Daniel Stewart and I will be joined in the honor of being able to narrate these wonderful biographies that have been written. At the end of each biography, it's wonderful if the family, friends, sponsors can come up for a photograph. We'll take a moment to do that in between reading the bios. And then once that's done, just return to your seats and we'll continue on with the program. So let's get started. Our first honoree is Captain Robert A. Breglio, Jr. A native of West Springfield, Massachusetts, Robert Bob Anthony Breglio was touched early by military service, while his father and uncle served overseas during World War II. Bob's daily job was hanging 2 Silver Star banners for family members in service. Bob enlisted in the Naval Reserve in 1961, rating as a machinery repairman and earning engineering degree from Western New England College. He married his wife Donna in 1966 and was commissioned an ensign in 1967. First assigned to Patrol Squadron 48, he deployed to Adak, Iwakuni, Sangley Point, and Cam Ranh Bay, Vietnam as a maintenance officer. Returning from Vietnam, Lieutenant Breglio joined VS-21, the first operational S-3 Viking anti-submarine warfare squadron, and deployed immediately to the Mediterranean on board the USS John F. Kennedy. On the night of November 22nd, 1975, in heavy seas off the coast of Sicily, the Kennedy collided with the USS Belknap. The Belknap, wedged under the angled flight deck, burned fiercely as jet fuel rained down. Lieutenant Breglio's general quarters were at the point of collision, and he led the firefighting team in preventing further damage to the Kennedy. He received the Navy Achievement Medal for his actions. Bob earned a master's degree at the Air Force Institute of Technology and then served on the Naval Air Systems Command and on the Secretary of Defense staff in Washington, D.C. Commander Breglio and his family moved to Coronado in 1980, where he served on the USS Kitty Hawk as Aircraft Intermediate Maintenance Department head. And in 1984, he transferred to the staff, ComNav Air Pac, serving as the Aviation Intermediate Maintenance Plans and Policy Officer. In 1987, Captain Breglio became the first Navy plant representative for the Tomahawk missile program at General Dynamics. Retiring in 1991, he provided engineering project support for various naval aviation systems. Bob served on the Coronado Parks and Recreation Commission and led the annual Letters to the Troops program. As president of the Silver Strand chapter of the Military Officers Association of America, he also advocated for the Coronado and Mar Vista High School Juniors Schools Naval Junior ROTC programs. He is currently a volunteer docent at the USS Midway Museum. Captain Breglio and wife Donna raised 2 Coronado High School graduates, Robert and William, and together they have 4 grandchildren. Thank you for your service. Will Captain Breglio, family and friends, please come forward for a photo. The next biography in the program is for AWS-1 James P. Buriak. Due to unforeseen family travel restrictions, we'll be honoring AWS-1 Buriak at our next ceremony in May of 24. This next biography is for Chief Petty Officer Thomas L. Cox. Every day, for over 25 years, Thomas Lester Cox got up and put on the uniform of the United States Navy. Thomas Cox was born on July 31st, 1882 in New York City. Cox joined the U.S. Navy out of a sense of duty to his country and to his family. Prior to his career as a chief aviation machinist mate, he married May Miller and was a devoted husband. Together they raised 3 beautiful daughters, Dorothy, Esther, and Nancy, all of whom attended Coronado High School in the 40s. Cox instilled a love of country and loyalty to the flag in his family. During his naval career, he was stationed first in the Philippines and then transferred to Naval Air Station North Island in Coronado. While at North Island, Cox had a minimal daily commute from 936 I Avenue to the base. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, airplanes were sent overseas regularly from the base to assist in the campaign. Chief Cox oversaw the plane's maintenance and was responsible for testing the plane's engines, fuel systems, propellers, and more. In doing so, he kept the war machine moving, the airplanes up in the air, and provided safety for the pilots and crew who flew the missions. Thomas Cox followed through with his part in the war effort, honorably and with incredible dedication. Cox's daughters, Dorothy, Esther, and Nancy, were active in school and known for their patriotism, spirit, energy, and zest for life. They all played a positive role in the lives of their fellow students during those hard war years. Thomas Cox was proud of his daughters, and he eventually took equal pride in being called Grandpa by his 8 grandchildren, Gail, Lauren, Kathy, Nancy, Tommy, Maddie, Tommy, and Jimmy. Cox was a shining example of the importance of giving back to the community, love of country, and service. Thomas Cox was not a POW. He did not receive the Medal of Honor or a Distinguished Flying Cross. He humbly, quietly, and reverently spent a lifetime in the Navy. Thomas passed on February 10, 1955, at the age of 72. He is buried at Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery. Thank you for your service. Will Chief Petty Officer Cox's family please come forward for a photo?
The next honoree is Lieutenant Junior Grade Helen Tuttle Bolton Fargo. Helen Tutton Bolton Fargo was a Navy nurse who admirably served overseas during World War II at fleet hospitals in the South Pacific. She was born in 1919 in the small farming town of Colusa, California. Graduating from high school in 1937, she matriculated to UC Berkeley, where she was nicknamed Tut, a name that stuck for life. Transferring to Stanford, she earned her Bachelor of Arts in Nursing in 1943. Following graduation, Tut joined the Navy and was commissioned an ensign in the Nurse Corps. She served at Fleet Hospital 105 in New Caledonia and Fleet Hospital 108 in Guadalcanal. At these posts, Tut compassionately treated service members involved in some of the most decisive battles in the South Pacific. After the war, she was assigned to Naval Hospital Treasure Island until leaving the Navy in 1946. Before the Navy sent her overseas, Tut met Thomas Arthur Bolton, a 1943 United States Naval Academy graduate. Their relationship continued long distance, and they were married after the war in 1947. Once married, 3 children were added to the family: Thomas Arthur in 1948, Barbara Ann in 1949, and Keith Tuttle in 1952. In 1957, her husband Tom was tragically killed in an aircraft carrier landing accident. The accident left Helen with 3 small children to raise on her own. Remaining firm in her belief that the kids needed a father, Tut stayed in Coronado. 2.5 years later, Tut's close friend introduced her to Captain William Bill Fargo, a 1939 graduate of the Naval Academy. Helen and Bill were married on October 3, 1959. Tut's naval lineage ran deep. She was the daughter of a World War I naval aviator, Ensign Darwin Tuttle, the wife of 2 naval officers, Commander Thomas Bolton and Captain Bill Fargo, and mother of 2 naval officers, Captain Keith Fargo and Admiral Tom Fargo. Helen Tut Fargo loved her life in Coronado, where she enjoyed family and many close friends. Tut played golf and bridge and enjoyed gardening and traveling. She died in Coronado on October 14, 1997. Tut's life story exemplified her dedication to her family, the Navy, and Coronado. Thank you for your service. This next biography is for Captain Charles R. Flather. Captain Charles Flather was a 1956 NRO TC graduate of Brown University. Shortly after graduation, he was reported aboard the USS Fletcher, DD-445, as the anti-submarine warfare officer and first lieutenant. After completing a Western Pacific deployment, he was selected for submarine school and graduated in June 1958. Captain Flather's first submarine assignment was on board the USS Runner, homeport in San Juan, Puerto Rico. In July 1961, Captain Flather reported to the U.S. Naval Academy as a company officer. While at Annapolis, he enrolled as a graduate student at George Washington University and earned a Master of Arts in Personnel and Administration. In 1963, he enrolled at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California, and graduated with distinction with a Master of Science degree in Engineering Science. His next tours were aboard USS Darter, followed by service as the executive officer of USS Chivo. After years of varied assignments and travels across the world's oceans, Captain Flather assumed his first command, USS Trigger. During this tour, the Trigger was involved in complex Mark 48 torpedo trials. Subsequent tours included 6th Fleet ASW officer, anti-submarine warfare, then executive assistant to the Commander-in-Chief South in Naples, Italy. After prospective commanding officer school, Captain Flather surfaced in 1979 as a commanding officer of USS Juno, a surface amphibious ship, and led the ship on 2 Western Pacific deployments. He and his crew were involved in the rescue of 2 boatloads of Vietnamese refugees who were adrift, rudderless, and at the mercy of the seas. Until his death, Charles remained in contact with many of the families and people he saved. Captain Flather's decorations and awards include the Defense Superior Service Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, Navy Achievement Medal, and the Meritorious Unit Citation. Captain Flather was very proud of his daughters, Alexis and Kate Morgan, and his son, Charles Flather Jr., who was married to Beverly Wagner Flather for 43 years. Following his retirement from the Navy, Captain Flather was active in the Coronado Floral Association and the Coronado Tennis Association. He died on Christmas Day, 2018. Thank you for your service. This next biography is for Captain Virgil C. Griffin. Naval pioneer Captain Virgil Squash Griffin was born in Montgomery, Alabama in 1891. He graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1912, 9th in a class of 159. After graduation, he was ordered to America's first dreadnought, the USS South Carolina, BB-26. In 1914, during the Mexican Revolution, the ship took part in the seizure and occupation of Veracruz. Virgil commanded the 4th Company of Armed Bluejackets, which came under fire during the Battle of Veracruz. Captain Griffin then reported to Pensacola for flight training, and in April of 1917 was designated the nation's 41st naval aviator. America had just entered World War I, and he was assigned to the U.S. Navy Aeronautical Detachment No. 1, America's first fighting force to land in France. During the war, Captain Griffin commanded the U.S. Naval Air Station in Saint-Trojan, France, where he helped develop tactics in the use of seaplanes to combat German U-boats. In 1920, Virgil married Elise Hall, who provided a firm foundation for her Griff throughout his career. Captain Griffin played many crucial roles as the Navy transitioned from battleship to carrier aviation and air power. He helped design and build a rescue gear for the Navy's first aircraft carrier, the USS Langley, and in 1922 made the historical first takeoff in a Vought VE-7 aircraft. The era of aircraft carrier was born. Captain Griffin was also superintendent of training at the Pensacola Aviation School, air officer on the USS Lexington and USS Saratoga, commanding officer of Scouting Wing Battle Force, executive air officer of Pearl Harbor, executive officer of the USS Langley, and commanding officer of the Naval Station at Anacostia, District of Columbia. He served as Admiral Bull Halsey's Chief of Staff and commanded Fleet Air Wing 5. During World War II, Griffin commanded the Naval Air Station Rio Grande at San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the Navy's largest technical training center in Norman, Oklahoma. His final duty was commanding officer at Naval Air Station, Barbers Point, Hawaii. Captain Griffin retired in 1947 and lived in Coronado at 777 G Avenue until his death in 1957. He is interred with his beloved wife, Elise, at Fort Crans National Cemetery. Thank you for your service.
We have Commander John Lepore. In 1966, the Vietnam War had an urgent need of more chaplains. John Lepore immediately volunteered for the Navy chaplaincy from his parish in Hull, Massachusetts. His first assignment was to Naval Air Station Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. In September 1967, Lepore got his wished-for orders to Vietnam. He had just arrived at Camp Pendleton for orientation when it was reported that Chaplain Vincent Capadonna was killed trying to save a wounded Marine. Lepore was whisked out of Pendleton and sent to South Vietnam with a prediction: what you would take us 30 days to teach you, you'll learn in a few days with your 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. Soon, John was wounded by a grenade when his unit ran into a North Vietnamese Army staging area prior to the Tet Offensive. Lepore's next assignment was NAS Patuxent River, after which he took a year off from active duty to complete his doctorate in counseling at Yale's Andover Newton Theological School. Returning to the Navy in 1971, John was assigned to Naval Base Yokosuka, Japan, where he replaced 2 chaplains due to the lack of clergy in the military. Leaving active duty in 1974, Lepore was selected for reserve duty with Navy Public Affairs Unit, NAV Info 101, where for the next 16 years, he became a weekend warrior. A highlight of his naval duty was teaching summers at the Naval Academy in Annapolis. Upon reflection of his 24-year naval career, he thought how fortunate he was to experience a ride in an A-6 intruder jet over the Outer Banks of Carolina, to circuit ride to isolated naval detachments in Eleutheria, San Salvador, and Grand Turk Islands, to climb Mount Fuji 3 times, and to jump into a foxhole and come face to face with the real Dennis the Menace. He claimed to have had a great privilege of working with the finest men and women he possibly could meet, especially the young Marines of 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, that did their dangerous duties despite waiting support from their countrymen. Commander Lepore retired from the Navy in 1990 and moved to Coronado in 1994, serving the San Diego area as a special needs teacher and counselor. Thank you for your service. I'm going to read both biographies, and after they are both read, I'll ask for the family and friends to come up for the front of the stage for a group photo. The first biography is for Arthur Payne MacArthur. Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Mac MacArthur was commissioned as 2nd Lieutenant in 1936 from ROTC at the University of Cincinnati with a degree in electrical engineering. He married Marjorie Moore MacArthur in April 1940 and was stationed in Hawaii. Marjorie moved back to San Diego in the fall of 1941 in anticipation of the birth of their first child, John, on January 3rd, 1942. After serving in various infantry assignments, he found himself on Marine Fleet staff aboard USS Maryland in December of 1941. Detached 1 week prior to the attack on Pearl Harbor, he took command of a machine gun company in San Diego. In August of 1942, Mac went ashore on Guadalcanal. The now Captain MacArthur experienced the initial ground combat of World War II in the Pacific with many other U.S. Marines. In November 1942, he was gravely injured in a mortar attack that killed 2 companions in his Jeep. He spent the next 6 months in New Zealand recovering from his wounds and malaria. Captain MacArthur was awarded the Bronze Star with Combat V and Purple Heart for his service. He returned briefly to San Diego, then to intelligence school in Washington, D.C. Returning to operational Marines in 1943, Mack participated in the Iwo Jima and Okinawa assaults and spent the rest of the war as an intelligence officer. After 15 years of honorable service and attaining the rank of lieutenant colonel, Mack was granted his release from active service in 1951. Trained as an electrical engineer, he and his family of 5 moved around the country in various engineering jobs before settling in Coronado in 1962. That year, Mack started work on the space program as a design and electrical engineer for the North American Aviation. He was heavily involved in the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo space launches and subsequent landing on the moon in 1969. After returning to San Diego, he worked in the construction field for over 25 years and was instrumental in establishing the General Contractors Training Program at San Diego State University. Mack was most proud of his long-time affiliation with the Optimist Club of Coronado, where he could be seen at all kinds of youth sporting events as an announcer for many years of the Coronado 4th of July Parade. Thank you for your service. MacArthur's son, Captain John D. MacArthur. Captain John D. MacArthur was born on January 3, 1942, in San Diego to Lieutenant Colonel Arthur and Marjorie MacArthur. He attended Serra High School in San Mateo and went on to attend San Diego State University, graduating in 1965 with a degree in business marketing. During his time at SDSU, he was a lifeguard right here on Coronado beaches. After graduating, John was commissioned a lieutenant of infantry in the U.S. Army. During his infantry training, he experienced, in his words, a vision overhead, as a brand new Huey helicopter flew over his muddy position. He graduated from Army Flight School at Fort Rucker, Alabama, shortly after, and was awarded Army Aviator wings in August of 1968. John deployed to Vietnam in September 1968 and held a command position with the 61st Assault Helicopter Company, supporting the 173rd Airborne in the Anlo Valley and Bong Song Plain. Captain MacArthur led over 500 combat assaults with the 61st Assault Helicopter Company, Lucky Stars, and Star Blazers. For those actions, he was awarded the Bronze Star, Army Commendation Medal, 22 Air Medals, National Defense Service Medal, Vietnam Service Medal, and Vietnam Campaign Medal. He returned to Texas as a flight instructor and went on to serve in California Army National Guard. His post-military career included work at Bell Helicopter International in Iran, Aramco in Houston, and 20 years with Hughes Space and Communication in Fullerton. Before retiring, MacArthur spent his final years as a business manager with Northrop Grumman. Returning to Coronado in 2000, John took up sailing again and enjoyed many beer can races on his boat, Tabasco, out of Coronado Yacht Club. He was a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity at SDSU and stayed involved with that fraternity as the House Corporation Manager. In retirement, John was a docent on the USS Midway Museum and an active member of Sacred Heart Church in Coronado as a Eucharistic minister, a member of the Knights of Columbus, American Legion, Vietnam Helicopters Pilots Association, and also a lifetime member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. He was predeceased by his daughter Kelly and survived by his wife of 47 years, Jane, who is with us today. Thank you for your service.
The next two biographies, similar to the last two, are for a father and son. I'll read both biographies and then ask the family and friends to come forward for a photo. The first biography is for Lieutenant General Ralph J. Mitchell. General Mitchell was born in New Britain, Connecticut. He graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis with a class of 1915. During his time at the Academy, he was captain of the lacrosse team. After World War I, he was assigned to naval flight training. He completed the training and was designated a naval aviator in the Marine Corps in June 1921. Mitchell won the Distinguished Service Cross in 1930 for leading Marine aviators against marauding bandits in Nicaragua's northern provinces. The attack against bandit stronghold dislodged the insurrectionists, but not before they put several holes in the wings of the attacking planes. In 1935, Mitchell's participation in fleet exercises aboard the USS Lexington and USS Ranger, and he was involved in developing aircraft carrier operations. Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell was listed as a technical advisor in the opening credits of the 1935 movie Devil Dogs of the Air, which starred James Cagney and Pat O'Brien. General Mitchell, then a major in the Marine Brigade stationed in Nicaragua, also received a special medal from Nicaragua's president, along with 18 other Americans, for his role in directing earthquake relief. As Director of Marine Aviation at the outbreak of World War II, General Mitchell organized the expansion of the Marine Air Arm for the Pacific Campaign and commanded the 1st Marine Air Wing in the South Pacific, to include the Solomons and the Philippines, for more than 2 years. He directed the Allied attacks that knocked out 5 airstrips on the port of Rabaul, a key South Pacific crossroads. In the last months of the war, he headed the South Pacific Air Forces, coordinating air operations of New Zealand and the United States Army, Navy, and Marine Corps. General Mitchell retired in 1948 and moved back to Coronado so he could hunt, fish, and play golf. He passed away in 1970. He is the father of Ralph Mitchell Jr., as well as the grandfather of Coronado residents Lord Mitchell, deceased, and Belle Mitchell. Thank you for your service. This next biography is for the son of Lieutenant General Mitchell, Lieutenant Commander Ralph J. Mitchell, Jr. Lieutenant Commander Ralph Mitchell Jr. was born the only child to Belle Cross Thompson and General Ralph Johnson Mitchell on September 30th, 1920, in Baltimore, Maryland. His mother was a passionate horticulturist, and his father oversaw the U.S. Marine Corps aviation in the South Pacific Theater during World War II. Mitchell first came to Coronado in 1927 as a young child. The family moved several times and lived all over the United States, Guam, and Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, young Mitchell learned to speak fluent Spanish, a talent that served him well throughout his life. He returned to Coronado in 1937 and graduated at Coronado High School in 1938. During his senior year at CHS, Lieutenant Commander Mitchell set the school long jump record of 23 feet 3/4 inches, a record which still stands 85 years later. After high school, Mitchell went on to graduate from the University of Virginia. Following graduation, he attended Naval Officer Candidate School and was commissioned an ensign in naval intelligence. Due to his fluency in Spanish, he was assigned as Assistant Naval Attaché in Havana, Cuba, during World War II. While stationed in Cuba, Mitchell's duties included spying on German U-boat activity along the coast. He found an eager collaborator for this adventure in his new friend, Ernest Hemingway. Mitchell served in the U.S. Naval Reserve for another 11 years, retiring at the rank of lieutenant commander. After World War II, he worked in Greenville, South Carolina for Pittsburgh Paint and Glass as the regional manager, before accepting a position with their Mexico City division. He returned to Coronado with his family in 1965, at which time Mitchell owned a car leasing corporation in National City. He was active in Coronado Rotary for nearly 50 years. Mitchell was a founding member of the Coronado Tennis Association, an accomplished piano player, a gifted athlete, and man dedicated to his family and country. He had a wicked sense of humor and lived a life filled with acts of kindness toward others. Lieutenant Commander Mitchell passed away peacefully in 2013, having lived a full and rewarding life. He was predeceased by his wife, Florence Lewis Mitchell, and survived by his 6 children, 12 grandchildren, and 5 great-granddaughters. Thank you for your service. The next next biography is for Commander Todd Porter. Born in Denver in October 1964, Commander Todd A. Porter moved often in his early years before his family settled in Coronado in 1978. In Coronado, Todd was active in soccer, cross country, and the Coronado High School marching band. A member of Boy Scout Troop number 801, he attained the rank of Eagle Scout and graduated from Coronado High School with honors in 1983. While no one in Todd's family previously served in the military, mentors from Coronado led him to apply for an ROTC scholarship. Attending the University of Southern California, Todd joined the USC Marching Band. He received a degree in aerospace engineering and, upon graduation, was commissioned an ensign in the U.S. Navy. With orders to flight school in hand, he embarked on a 22-year military career. Todd received his Navy Wings of Gold in May 1988 and went on to serve as navigator, communicator, tactical coordinator, and mission commander in the P-3 Orion aircraft. Tours of duty in maritime patrol community included Moffett Field, California, Jacksonville, Florida, and Whidbey Island, Washington. During the Cold War, Todd tracked Soviet submarines. He subsequently participated in maritime patrol security missions during operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm, as well as the Baltics conflict. His most challenging and yet most rewarding tour was as a catapult arresting gear officer, shooter in naval parlance, aboard USS Enterprise. Post 9/11, Todd transferred to Japan to pilot C-12 aircraft, supporting Operation Enduring Freedom. Returning to the United States, he played a key role in developing the Navy's drone program, including the transition from manned to unmanned squadrons. Todd was also a founder of the Triton unmanned aircraft system, which is still in service today. Todd's awards included the Meritorious Service Medal, 3 awards. After retirement, Todd pursued a federal civil service career and currently serves as Naval Aviation's Air Combat Electronics Product Support Manager in Patuxent, Maryland. An accomplished sailor, Todd is a member of the Solomon Islands Yacht Club and volunteers as a sailing instructor. He also volunteers with Pets on Wheels and the Association of Naval Engineers, where he helps fundraise for engineering scholarships. Todd and his wife, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine Jennifer O'Connor, reside in Solomons, Maryland. Thank you for your service.
The next biography is for Lieutenant Commander Michael Turner. Mike A. Turner was born here at Naval Air Station North Island on August 4th, 1944, to A.O. and Rose Turner. As a Navy brat, his family had numerous duty stations, but Coronado was home. In 1962, Mike graduated from Coronado High School, enlisted in the Navy in Richmond, Virginia, and attended Machinist Maintenance A School in Great Lakes, Illinois. Upon graduation, he was assigned to Nuclear Power School in Bainbridge, Maryland. Mike met and married the love of his life, Barbara Ann Eller, and honeymooned at the infamous Woodstock Festival. During 28 years of service, Mike's sea time included USS Springfield, 6th Fleet Flagship, homeported in Villa, France, the USS Fulton, homeported in New London, Connecticut. Finally returning to California, Mike was assigned to USS Long Beach, USS England, USS McCluskey, and USS Independence, all homeported here in San Diego. A hard-charging engineer snipe, Mike was selected and commissioned as an engineering officer under the Limited Duty Program. One memorable highlight in Mike's career was as Tactical Action Officer, or TAO, aboard USS McCluskey. After passing through the Straits of Hormuz to conduct operations in the Persian Gulf, Bahrain was to the port side, with the ship's SH-60 airborne helicopter about 5 nautical miles to port. During TAO watch, Mike was alerted that the SH-60 had detected an aircraft over Iran with its Exocet missile targeting the ship. Mike immediately lit off the fire control radar, called the captain of the bridge, and loaded a SM-1MR anti-aircraft missile on the launcher. Upon recognizing they had little desire to fight an American warship, the Iranian aircraft returned to Iran. Retiring in 1990, Mike worked as an aircraft carrier maintenance program manager with Commander Naval Air Force's Pacific Staff. Mike was assigned to the USS Kitty Hawk, USS Carl Vinson, promoted as MPM supervisor, and retired in September of 2006. In retirement, he and Barbara enjoyed their home in Coronado as members of Coronado's VFW Post 2422, and as a Distinguished Flying Cross Associate member, Mike remains active in his beloved hometown. Mike Turner's family includes sons Michael and his wife Micheline, grandchildren Bella Marie, Zane Michael, and Kingston River. Thank you for your service. Is for Captain David K. Werner. Born into a World War II Marine family with two uncles serving in the Pacific and a third enlisted in the Army Air Corps, it was only natural that Captain David Warner chose to join the Marine Corps' 42nd Officer Candidate School class in 1966 with hopes of going to Pensacola. After graduating Officer Candidate School in December 1966, Dave went on to Basic and Naval Flight Officer School and received orders to El Toro Marine Corps Air Station with an assignment to Reconnaissance Squadron VMCJ-3. While on deployment in 1968, David earned the Navy and Marine Corps Medal, the highest non-combat medal for heroism for rescuing his unconscious pilot after a crash landing in an orange grove. His citation reads, "Although painfully injured by the impact of the crash, First Lieutenant Warner boldly moved to rescue the unconscious pilot. Ignoring the raging fire about to engulf the cockpit, he rapidly lifted him from the flaming wreckage. Unable to carry his companion from the dangerous area, Lieutenant Warner resolutely dragged the disabled Marine through the flames, a distance of 30 meters, to the relative safety of an adjacent irrigation canal." In 1969, he was assigned as part of a team of 12 to transit across the Pacific to Vietnam. They arrived in Da Nang the day America launched to the moon, July 16, 1969. While there, David flew 16 missions in the EF-10B, 41 missions in the EA-6A, and 110 missions in the RF-4B. In 1970, Captain Warner was assigned a priority mission to obtain urgently needed intelligence information on a suspected enemy storage and anti-aircraft complex. Prior to reaching the target, his aircraft came under a heavy volume of hostile anti-aircraft fire and was severely damaged. Captain Warner swiftly aided his pilot in maneuvering through the hostile fire and then expertly photographed the target area. For his efforts, David earned the Distinguished Flying Cross. David reflects that the Marine Corps has been one of the best things in his life. He was given first-class training and responsibilities beyond whatever he expected. He sees the Marine Corps as a life-empowering opportunity. He appreciates how it benefited the rest of his life. Semper Fi. Thank you for your service.
The next honoree biography is for Chief Aviation Mechanic Hydraulics, Ronald E. Wheeler. Ronald Ron Wheeler was born in Kansas City, Missouri on July 30th, 1952. In 1971, while attending the University of Missouri Conservatory of Music, Ron enlisted in the Navy, attended Naval Training Center San Diego Boot Camp, and participated with the Navy Choir, pursuing his passion for music. Graduating from Aviation Hydraulics School in Millington, Tennessee, Airman Wheeler transferred to Strike Fighter Squadron VA-25 at NAS Lemoore, and in 1976 embarked on board the aircraft carrier USS Ranger. After a challenging deployment, Wheeler attended S3 Maintenance School, Sea Control, Squadron 41, North Island, and determined, Coronado would be his forever home. Wheeler was assigned to VS-33 at North Island and embarked aboard USS America before being reassigned to VS-41 maintenance shop. In 1983, Ron made the world cruise aboard the newly christened USS Carl Vinson. After completing sea and shore duty at North Island, he and his family transferred to Naval Air Facility at Suda, Japan. There, Ron was promoted to Chief Petty Officer. 3 years later, Chief Wheeler served as leading chief to Helicopter Squadron 3 on North Island until retiring in 1994. After retirement, Ron nurtured his music career, which began by joining the Coronado band Jumpstart. Switching to more easygoing acoustics, he gathered a few friends to create Ron's Garage Band, RGB. RGB was first hired by local coffee shop Cafe 1134 and subsequently hired by McPee's, CBC, and Island Sports and Spirits. From 1996 to 2007, RGB played at the Hotel del Coronado Sun Deck on summer weekends and at Coronado's Concert in the Park for the first time in 1996. Ron was also a one-on-one paraeducator for special needs students in Coronado Unified School District. He retired after 12 years. His wife, Juliet, was also a Coronado educator. Throughout the years, Ron donated musical services for auction at the yearly Coronado Schools Foundation fundraiser and other Coronado fundraisers. Ron and RGB have become an integral part of Coronado's community, providing not only the highest quality music, but the sincere love and appreciation of the community in which he lives. The Wheeler family includes his wife Juliet, daughters Misty and husband Sam Dowker, Jessica Wheeler, his son Jason and wife Crystal Wheeler, and grandchildren Maxwell, Freya, Austin, Aiden, Ariana, Logan, and Corey. Thank you for your service. Today's last biography is for Commander Ronald D. Reg Whithoff. Commander Ronald Dean Whithoff was born in Modesto, California in 1933 to Arthur and Helen Whithoff. After graduating from Modesto Junior College in 1953, he entered the Naval Aviation Candidate Program in Pensacola, Florida. He was commissioned an ensign and pinned on his wings of gold in March 1955. Reg's first fleet tour was with Fighter Squadron 112, flying fighter aircraft off the aircraft carriers USS Essex and USS Ticonderoga during 2 Westpac deployments. In 1959, he joined Fighter Squadron 121 Replacement Air Group, the RAG, as an instructor and landing signal officer, and participated in the introduction of the new McDonnell Douglas F-4B. The RAG represents the last phase of naval training pipeline for pilots. In 1963, Reg returned to sea duty aboard USS Constellation with Fighter Squadron 143 as maintenance and then operations officer. During deployment, he surpassed 300 traps, aircraft carrier landings. Returning to shore duty in 1965, he earned a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations from the Naval Postgraduate School. Transferring then in 1967 to VX4, the Evaluators, he served as admin officer and assistant project officer. This operational test and evaluation assignment had him working on the AIM Sparrow missile program, flying F-4 and F-8 aircraft. In 1968, Reg received orders to as XO to Fighter Squadron 213, the Black Lions, at NAS Miramar. Joining the squadron mid-deployment on board USS Kitty Hawk in 1969, he flew many missions in the Gulf of Tonkin. During his command deployment in 1970, VF-213 became the first fleet squadron to fly the Phantom aircraft more than 1,000 hours in a single month. Reg relinquished command in 1971 and, until his retirement in 1982, served on the ComNav's Airpac staff, on the 7th Fleet staff aboard USS Oklahoma City, home ported in Yokosuka, Japan, and on the staff of ComNav Forces, Japan. Orders to Naval War College were nixed by Sink Wife, and in 1982, Reg retired with 27 years of service, 5 deployments, almost 4,000 flight hours, and, as he frequently touted, total number of landings equaling total number of takeoffs. In retirement, Reg and Bonnie enjoyed buying and renovating houses and working for a developer, where he advanced to project superintendent. Thank you for your service. We would now like to recognize current and former banner recipients who are here with us today. Please stand to let us know where you are. Current and former. Current. Thank you to all our honorees, their family and friends, the City of Coronado for its sponsorship, and all those who helped put this event together. As we approach Veterans Day, we are honored to tell the stories of these local heroes and to demonstrate our appreciation for all they do or have done for our country. Now, I invite Coronado City Manager Tina Friend back to the stage for closing comments.
So I have to start with, wow. I mean, was that not incredible? All of those stories. It was as I said, listening to the stories, and I'm just moved beyond the moment hearing the stories. I have tears standing out my eyes. They're incredible cinematic biographies, and I'm so grateful that you're willing to share that with us. You're willing to be honored. And again, thank you to the family who brought forward the nominations, who created the biographies, who provided the amazing photographs. Thank you so much. And also to the kids and babies, you did great today. So I just want to recognize you. I hope you're so proud of your family members, of what they've achieved and continue to achieve. And one more thing too that always strikes me when I hear the biographies is that there are careers of service, giving back, doing more. It's not just one career. There's always like 3 or 4 iterations. You have the main career, and then the next career, and the next. And it is such an inspiration for me and for all of us in the room. So a few more closing remarks, and then we can celebrate each other in the reception afterwards. So we do this program twice a year. It is our very great honor to continue with the Hometown Banners program. So we encourage you to give us nominations. And we're looking for military service with a connection to Coronado, notwithstanding the amazing biographies you've heard. There are heroes all among us, so please keep those nominations coming. We want to celebrate you. And then finally, I have a note of great appreciation for my office. I see them there in the hallway. This event is put together. We heard about the Avenue of Heroes Committee, but really I have to thank Kelly Purvis, who was right there. Kelly, thank you. She's in the booth up there. Kelly, thank you so much. They worked so hard to make this a meaningful presentation, so thank you to them. You're true professionals. So again, thank you all for attending. Thank you to our distinguished guests from Naval Base Coronado, our current and former council members. We appreciate your support. And I hope you have a wonderful day in Coronado. Please enjoy the reception, and we'll see you out there. And that concludes our program.